Wow, I don't know what happened there. That was weird. My opening didn't work. Let me try that again. Oh my goodness. I don't know if that was terrible for you. It was terrible at this end. Anyway, great to see you all in. Hey, Grandpa Joe, Grumpy Mike, Tall Thin Kev, Andy Parker, and Esther, who I saw this morning. We made a great video this morning. It was amazing fun. And I've got a guitar to show you as well. Keith H, hello. Dennis, the Big G, hey man, great to see you. Jake Leigh Guitar, who I saw on Friday. The Guitar Rabbi. Yeah, we broke everything today, and it seems broken now. I'm really hoping that we can get through this. I seem to have a little bit of a problem with my computer. Hey, Johnny, Lara, Graham Campbell, Phil James, Papa Blue. Hey, Ben Coombs. Don't forget he's going live tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. We've got Rax Effects and Charles 75N. So, what have we got? Oh, hey, Smitry. What have we got coming up tonight? Well, we have a Jimmy Page show and another incredible guitarist that really does deserve to get some exposure. Hey, unlike a Spark basement guitar superstar, I'm not creative. Let me see. Bronze Snake. Hey, brother. Great to see you in. I haven't seen you for such a long time. Fancy meeting you here. Budget Guitar Show. Here's Johnny, Billy Shelton, and Sean Hockey. Hey, Sean, the very first thing I'm going to do tonight is play the guitar that I didn't get to do last week because that was particularly for you. Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you, Budget Guitar Show. The old speech is getting a bit worse, but I'm feeling very well in myself. Let me see. Yes, nice headless Ibanez. Shall we dive straight in? I think maybe we should. Mikey Newman, hey bro, great to see you as well. And James Mears. Okay, right, we are going to dive in and we're going to have a look at headless Ibanez. Hey guys, and welcome back to Gear Street number 3. And the one thing that I was asked to try out while I was here was this, all of the Ibanez headless range. And I'm so glad that I did get asked to try these out because I absolutely adore these guitars. And I'm going to tell you why at the end of the video. But first we're just going to look at the specs and then we're going to check out some tones. And then Towards the end, I'll tell you my thoughts about playability and also why I love this guitar so much. So first of all, let's talk about the specs. It's a standard 5-way switch, but there's this little toggle as well, which actually changes from parallel to in series on the pickups, and also splits the humbucker. So we've got a single tone, it's not a push-pull because we've got this little toggle, and a single volume. This thing has got obviously the tuners at the back end of the guitar because it is headless. And what's more, the thickness of this neck, which is a beautiful roasted maple in 3 parts. I'm not sure the middle is maple. It looks to me like that could even be a limber. But obviously that isn't the skunk stripe because it's got a separate fingerboard on it, so the truss rod is underneath the fingerboard. The fingerboard is a beautiful, almost a bird's eye maple fingerboard. It just looks a really, really nice wood. Thing I really like about it is the truss rod adjuster is here where you can access it easily. So that's really, really cool. Obviously it's a humbucker single, and it does all the tones that you can imagine, especially when you engage this switch on the top 2 single coil pickups, which is really, really nice. The neck is pretty thin. It's certainly thinner than I usually like, but it's a very, very well built guitar, a lovely fit and finish on it, and this heel joint is really nice as well. So let's go and check out an average guitar player playing some average tunes on this and see what the clean tones, the crunch tones and the lead tones sound like. There we are. As I said, I'm a very average player, so hopefully it gives average players out there a good idea of what this guitar would sound like if they played it. Now, why do I love this guitar? There's two reasons. The first is it's perfectly balanced, and the second reason is because I'm getting a little bit old, this guitar is incredibly light. Obviously the lack of wood for a headstock and the fact that it's got such a lot of cutaways, and it's actually a really comfortable guitar to sit on your lap, either on this leg or on this leg, and it just plays really nicely. I actually really like the fan frets as well. I don't often play a fan fret, but this was really easy to play. And what I found, and I believe this is the reason for a fan fret, is your hand goes into the right shape on every single one of the frets when you go up the neck, because it's designed so that your hands do go into the right angle to play chords and lead stuff, and it just makes it really easy to play. But for me, I think it's mainly the fact that this is just so light and so easy to play. That's what I really love. I've really enjoyed playing this guitar, And I hope that that showed in the tone demonstration that I did. And I hope that you guys really like this guitar as well. I think it was Sean Hockey that asked me to try out the Ibanez headless. And thanks, man. I'm really glad that you did ask for that, because I really, really like it. It's a beautiful guitar, beautifully light, and I think Ibanez have really hit their stride this year by producing these headless. And also I've got another Ibanez coming up in another video really soon that I think you're really going to like, because it is great value. I'll put all the links for this in the description down below. As always, I just do the demo. I'm really looking forward to your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Did you like the tones? What do you think of the fact that it is so light? And yeah, let me know your thoughts. I really look forward to reading them and responding to as many as I can. I'll be back with the best videos I can for you, just as soon as I can. But in the meantime, as always, you take good care. Okay, so there we go. I'm so glad you enjoyed it, Sean, because that was your your request for me to do the headless guitars at Gear Street, and I really enjoyed doing them. Hopefully the blockiness has gone away now. I have given Johnny a link. Whether or not he has got that on his email yet, I'm not sure, but he has a story about Robert Plant, which I think could be kind of fun. Let me see what I'm missing. Oh, Terry, how you doing, man? Hey, Johnny Love. Hey, Sassy Cat. Right, great. Yeah, I'm afraid I do know why the picture was blocky. And that was because I was still uploading the videos to the live channel. So I am sorry about that. So I'm glad it's clearer now. Okay, right. We have quite a lot to get through tonight, so I'm going to dive straight into Mr. Page bio.
One of the all-time most influential, important, and versatile guitarists and songwriters in rock history is Jimmy Page. Just about every rock guitarist from the late 60s, early 70s to the present day has been influenced by Page's work with Led Zeppelin. His monolithic riff served as a blueprint for what would eventually become heavy metal, yet he refused to be pigeonholed to any single musical style, touching upon folk, country, funk, blues, and other genres. Page also lent a hand in writing, or co-writing Zeppelin's vast array of classic songs and produced all their albums. Born on January 9, 1944, in Heston, Middlesex, England, Page picked up the guitar at age 13 after being inspired by the Elvis Presley tune Baby Let's Play House, and while he took several lessons, was mostly self-taught. Instead of attending college right after high school, Page decided to join his first real rock band, Neil Christian and The Crusaders, whom he toured England with. But Page fell seriously ill, with glandular fever, and was forced to quit and recuperate. Dejected, Page pondered giving up music and focusing on another interest, painting, as he enrolled at an art college in Sutton, Surrey. With the emergence of such bands as the Rolling Stones in the early 60s and their gritty blues rock, Page's interest in music perked up once again, but instead of forming a band right away, he decided to hone his craft by becoming one of England's top session guitarists and producers. Although the exact specifics of which sessions he was involved with have become hazy over time, it's confirmed that he worked with many of the day's top acts, including The Who, Them, Donovan, The Kinks, and the Rolling Stones, among others. By 1966, Page was looking to put his session work on hold and join a full-time band. He accepted an offer to play with the Yardbirds, initially as a bassist, then shortly thereafter as a guitarist, as he was paired up with another one of rock's all-time guitar greats, Jeff Beck. Although the Yardbirds began as a straight-ahead blues rock band, with the inclusion of Page in the lineup, the group began experimenting with psychedelic and hard rock styles. Little Games. Despite it being obvious that the Yardbirds were on the downside of their career, Beck left shortly after Page came on board. Page appeared on the album Little Games and several tours before the band finally called it a day in 1968. With a string of tour dates still set up throughout Europe, Page decided to go through with the shows and put together a new band that was dubbed the New Yardbirds, including longtime session bassist John Paul Jones, plus newcomers Robert Plant on vocals and John Bonham on drums. After the completion of their initial tour, the band changed its name to Led Zeppelin and explored the still largely uncharted territory of hard rock or heavy metal. The band immediately became one of rock's most successful and enduring bands, issuing a string of classic albums from 1969 through 1975: Led Zeppelin I, Led Zeppelin II, Led Zeppelin III, Led Zeppelin IV, Houses of the Holy, and Physical Graffiti, which spawned such classic rock radio standards as Dazed and Confused, Whole Lotta Love, Immigrant Song, Black Dog, Stairway to Heaven, and Kashmir, as the band also became a must-see live act in the process. Page also found the time to work with folk artist Roy Harper, most notably his 1971 release, Stormcock, under the alias S. Flavius Mercurius. Zeppelin was arguably the biggest rock band in the world by the mid-70s, their influence on other rock bands following in their wake cannot be stressed enough as they launched their own record company, Swan Song, but it was around this time that Page began dabbling with heroin and other substances, eventually leading to him becoming a full-blown addict by the late 70s, early 80s. As a result, his playing began to suffer. Also, Page's interest in the occult became a concern to those around him. He went as far as purchasing a mansion on the Loch Ness in Scotland that was once owned by renowned Satanist Aleister Crowley. The song remains the same. Zeppelin continued issuing albums until the dawn of the 80s. 1976 concert movie soundtrack. The song remains the same and presence. 1979's In Through the Outdoor, but tragedy ultimately derailed the quartet. The death of Plant's young son in 1977 and Bonham's alcohol-related death in 1980. After Led Zeppelin decided to call it quits in late 1980, Page disappeared from sight. It became known later on that he hardly touched his instrument for a long time afterward. It wasn't until 1982 that Page began to emerge from his self-imposed exile, as he composed and played on the motion picture soundtrack to Death Wish 3, compiled the Zeppelin Outtakes Collection Coda, and took part in the 1983 star-studded ARMS tour, which saw Page unite with Beck and Eric Clapton for a series of shows that raised money for multiple sclerosis research. In 1984, Page guested alongside Plant, Beck, and Nile Rodgers on the hit EP of rock and roll oldies The Honeydrippers, and formed his first band since the demise of Zeppelin, dubbed The Firm. The group featured former Free Bad Company vocalist Paul Rodgers, and despite the fact that their self-titled debut was a sizable hit, the band decided to call it a day shortly after the release of its lukewarm-received sophomore effort, Mean Business. Now and Zen. Led Zeppelin fans were given a rare treat when Zeppelin's surviving three members reunited, with drummers Tony Thompson and Phil Collins for the Mammoth Live Aid at Philadelphia's JFK Stadium in July 1985, unfortunately handing in an incredibly under-rehearsed, sloppy performance. Zeppelin reunited again in 1988 for the Atlantic Records' 25th anniversary concert at New York's Madison Square Garden. This time Bonham's son, Jason, filled in for his late father behind the kit, and yet again performed another mistake-filled mini-set. The same year Page guested on Plant's solo release Now and Zen, as well as issuing his first ever solo recording, Outrider, following it up with a tour that touched upon tracks from all eras of his career. By the early 90s, further rumors of an impending Zeppelin reunion continued to circulate, and after Plant declined an invitation from Page to join forces once again, Page decided to collaborate with former Deep Purple, Whitesnake vocalist David Coverdale, whose vocal style was often compared to Plant's over the years. Page's latest project only lasted a single album. 1993's heavily Zepp-like Coverdale Page, as a proposed world tour was scrapped in favor of just a few select dates in Japan. No Quarter. In 1994, Plant and Page finally agreed to collaborate once again, although Jones wasn't invited this time, leading to the release of the acoustic set No Quarter the same year, plus a highly popular MTV Unplugged special and sold-out world tour. A year later, Led Zeppelin were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, this being the second time a Page-related band got the nod from the hall. In 1992, the Yardbirds were honored. The year 1998 saw Plant and Page issue an album of all new material, Walking into Clarksdale, which was surprisingly not well received by the public, sinking from sight shortly after its release. The duo went their separate ways by the late 90s, as Page joined the Black Crowes for a tour and live album, 2000's Live at the Greek. The same year as the album's release, another Crowes Page tour was cut short due to a back injury Page suffered. But in June of 2001, Page took to the concert stage alongside Plant to celebrate the 60th birthday of Roy Harper. In 2005, Page was appointed Office of the Order of the British Empire in recognition of his charity work, and the following year he was inducted, along with the rest of Led Zeppelin, into the UK Music Hall of Fame. A one-off charity concert with all of the surviving Led Zeppelin members, with Jason Bonham on drums, occurred in 2007 at the O2 Arena in London, and in 2008 Page appeared in and co-produced the guitar documentary It Might Get Loud, which focused on the careers and playing styles of Page, Jack White, and U2's The Edge. In 2012 Page, Plant, and Jones received the prestigious Kennedy Center honors from President Barack Obama in a White House ceremony amidst rumors circulating about a possible Led Zeppelin reunion in anticipation of the forthcoming deluxe reissues of the band's first 3 studio albums. By 2014 those rumors had mostly abated, and Page announced that he was going to put together a band and tour as a solo act for the first time since 1988.
Okay, so that was a little bit of a biog there of Jimmy Page, and I think he's an amazing, incredible guitar player. I have noticed that quite a few of you have mentioned about his guitar work in Live Aid, and yeah, he was so out of tune. But I have a story coming up later, which is really cool. And he says, the O2 gig was phenomenal and showed the younger generation why they were so successful. Absolutely. I think really was amazing. And I think all of the oldies show some of the youngsters just how it should be done. Yeah, Black Crows. I didn't realize they talk with them. Right, okay. Before we move on to the next one, I have to say that I have another amazing thing to go into the MNDA. The MNDA. Oh, hello. Look at this. This is a beautiful Dean acoustic guitar that my buddy Andy brought over for me this morning. Oh, hello. It's on. There we go. So a huge, I'm not sure how to turn that off. There we go. A huge thanks to Andy for contributing this to our amazing, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to play it for you because we had a little jam this morning and Andy came up with this beautiful riff that I'm going to try and play for you. Yeah, that is something you will hear very soon. But a huge thank you to Andy for contributing this beautiful Dean guitar to the auction. So this is going to be another MNDA auction item. And this guitar was worth about £500 when it was bought, and I think it is absolutely incredible of Andy to donate this for the cause. So a huge thank you to Andy because this guitar is definitely going to be a good auction piece. And thanks for that, Sean. Yeah, I couldn't remember the word auction. Yeah, the bridge design on it is absolutely beautiful. It is incredibly pretty. The wood is exquisite. And yeah, it is a really, really nice guitar. So I hope a few of you will get onto the auction and maybe have a little look at this guitar. Ah, thank you so much, Salam. He says, it's always a great pleasure when you play live for us. Rock on forever, brother. I'll try and rock on for as long as I can, my friend. Um, oh, I've got a private chat from Johnny saying, here I am, but I can't see him. But first, let me give the lamb one of these. Thank you, buddy. Really, really kind. Never courted, but always, always appreciated. Um, Phil didn't know Dean made acoustics. They play like a dream. Easton Ray says it sounds great, nice guitar. Let me see. My acoustic is a cheap no name. Well, there we go. Oh, you can make it on. Have another go. Howdy, Lefty Mike. Wow, it's been a while, mate. Great to see you in. Yeah, I totally agree. God bless Andy. Really, really kind. Eastern May has a Dean acoustic that has a cedar top. Very nice instrument. Yep, looks like my Dean acoustic made in the same plant as the Breed Loves. Awesome. Yeah, really, really generous, and I can't thank my buddy enough for this. It really is amazing, and I'm incredibly grateful. Wired up my studio, FM Studio WR with the Jimmy Page 21 tone configuration. It sounds great through two Seymour Duncan pickups and using a Wilkinson roller bridge. Good on you, man. Oh, Grumpy Mike, for the wellness tone jar, and why not? As always, I wish you the best. Thanks for all the great content. Well, bless you, brother. Let me give you one of these because it really is appreciated. Thank you, sir. I can't remember how to play that, but I wish I could. Um, really is a beautiful sounding guitar. I love the headstock design, and yeah, I love the look of this guitar. So a huge thank you again to Andy. Being very careful not to drop it. Let me see what's going on. Oh, John Robson's in. Hey, brother, and thank you so much. Not only has John become an amazing patron of the channel, but he's also donated £5. Bless you, brother. Let me give you one of these. Thank you so much. Always appreciated, but never courted. Thank you, brother. Glenn Bailey says guitar sounds full of tone, a nice sounding guitar. It really, really is. It's a very, very nice sounding guitar. And I am over the moon to have it in the auction. So thank you again. No sign of Johnny yet, so we will dive into another of the Led Zeppelin or Jimmy Page related articles. Now, you guys can decide. Whoever comes up with it first will get the opportunity to see the next video. Right, we have Page playing on Hard Day's Night. Interesting facts about Jimmy Page. The theft of songs, accusing Jimmy Page of stealing. And finally, Page upset at Live Aid. Let me know what you want first. Let me see. Okay, right. The first thing I see is facts. Awesome. Okay. Oh, thanks, Rumpy Mike. I have done another patron backing track for you this week. I hope you enjoyed it. So we'll dive into the Jimmy Page facts. Here we go.
Are you interested in learning about the life of Jimmy Page? James Patrick Page started music from a very early age and bought his first guitar at the age of 12. He was so deeply inspired by music that he decided to pursue music and make it a career. Page has often mentioned that the first guitar he bought, in his early days, was a Futurama Grazioso model guitar. Jimmy Page studied at the Sutton Art College. During this time he played guitar, focusing particularly on acoustic music. He initially took guitar lessons. However, he soon stopped and became a self-taught guitar maestro. Often considered as one of the greatest guitarists of all time, James Page has also performed with the iconic band the Rolling Stones for a few years during 1960. Diamonds is one of the earlier songs he worked on. In 1963 it became a #1 hit on the charts that year. Page was a session musician before and mainly played rhythm guitar. During this period, Page was often known as an insurance guitarist. He replaced the second guitarist of any band and performed or recorded their work in the studio. The Yardbirds once had 3 iconic guitarists, Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, and Jimmy Page during the same time. However, this iconic trio never played in the band together. Jimmy Page's career. The life and career of musicians are often filled with the most unique and entertaining facts, and for the case of Jimmy Page, it was also the same. The musical career of James Patrick Page began at a very early age. 1960 was the era that marked the start of Page's career as a musician. In 1963, Page was a session musician who often played with other musicians. As Page started gaining popularity for his work, he slowly transformed into a full-time session guitarist rather than being an occasional session musician. The major break in the career of Page came in 1964 when there was a possibility of him joining the iconic rock band the Yardbirds. Page would have replaced the magnificent musician, Eric Clapton. Page denied the opportunity since he was a very close friend of Clapton. The possibility of joining the Yardbirds was officially an option to Page when Clapton left the band. However, Page still denied joining the band as he didn't want to leave his job as a full-time session musician and explore the possibility of fatigue that a band member endures after strenuous tours. The Yardbirds finally continued with Page and Jeff Beck as the two guitarists. However, though this group was a fan favorite, it failed to hold its members together. During the Scandinavian tour in 1968, Page was the only member left in the band. He immediately hired Robert Plant to be the vocalist, John Bonham as the drummer, and John Paul Jones to play the bass. With this fresh and new lineup came the new Yardbirds. However, they soon decided to change that name and thus formed one of the greatest rock bands of all time, Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin produced numerous albums and singles, and all of them became a commercial success. A large attribute for this goes to the individual four members of the band. Each of the quartets had its different styles, inspirations, and different playing types, which formed a unique blend of classic rock with a wonderful mix of blues to it. This different yet highly entertaining and blissful music struck not only in the heart of the listeners but also steadily climbed on the Billboard album chart. James Patrick Page's career at Led Zeppelin came to an end in 1980 when John Bonham, the drummer of the band, passed away at Page's home, and the band decided that they were not going to continue as a band. All the remaining three members of Led Zeppelin decided to pursue their music in other ventures. Though Led Zeppelin discontinued in 1980, there were four major reunions. After the passing of Bonham, a grieving Page refused to touch his guitar and produce music. He spent some time doing small session work. It was during this phase of life that he concentrated more on charity and philanthropic work, with small work in music that included composing background scores and soundtracks for movies. From 1980 to 2010, Page performed in countless shows and tours. However, those were all special appearances, reunions, and further collaboration works. After Led Zeppelin, Page was not involved to his maximum capacity as a musician for any band. The legacy and accomplishments of Jimmy Page are high. The iconic Rolling Stone magazine once ranked Jimmy Page as the 9th best guitarist in their list of the 100 greatest guitarists of all time. Page gained popularity with his charity work in Brazil's Children's Trust after making significant contributions. On behalf of the British Empire, he was appointed as an officer of the Order of the British Empire. Brazil gave him honorary citizenship for his selfless contributions. Jimmy Page was introduced into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice. He received this honorary feat owing to his two iconic bands. The Yardbirds were introduced in 1992, while Led Zeppelin was inducted in 1995. There isn't any hard rock music lover who hasn't heard of Led Zeppelin or is unfamiliar with their music. Considered as one of the greatest rock bands of all time, Led Zeppelin was in a league of their own. Here are some cool facts about Led Zeppelin and about Jimmy Page. The four musicians, Jimmy Page as the guitarist, Robert Plant with his majestic vocals, an incredible drummer in the likes of John Bonham, and musical virtuoso John Paul Jones, who took care of bass and keyboard, created a wonderful amalgamation of different styles of music genres and textures. After the Yardbirds fell off, Page wanted to create a new band and thus is considered as the founding member of Led Zeppelin. Though Page founded Led Zeppelin in 1966, the band became most active from 1968 and continued till 1980. During this time, they made 8 studio albums, 4 live albums, and 10 compilation albums. The self-titled Led Zeppelin debut album was released in 1969 and became a huge commercial success along with the other albums that preceded this. Often considered as pioneers of hard rock, Led Zeppelin has etched their name in the history of rock music. The band serves as an inspiration to numerous artists all over the globe. Their music is often used in recent movies. The 4 individual members are considered geniuses by music learners. Jimmy Patrick Page has inspired many people. Upcoming guitar learners consider him to be their guitar idol and inspiration. However, a sudden misfortune ended the run of Led Zeppelin when the band was at its pinnacle of fame and creativity. The drummer John Bonham passed away, and the other remaining members mutually decided to discontinue the band as they could never think of replacing Bonham with anyone else. However, Led Zeppelin had reunion shows where the members reunited with Bonham's son, who replaced his dad as the drummer in reunion shows. The reunions took place in 1985, 1988, 1995, and in 2007.
So there we go, some interesting facts about Jimmy Page. He was a really amazing guitar player, and yeah, I have been a big fan of his for a long time. I bought, actually, before I bought any of the Led Zeppelin stuff, I bought Coverdale Page, and I really, really liked it. I did see someone earlier say they had bought the same and really enjoyed it. Also, want to say hey to CJ. Sorry I missed your comment earlier. I've just been back through and found it. Thank you, brother. And welcome to Scott Guitars. Great to see you in, Dan. Okay, so I know a lot of you wanted to see the Live Aid thing, I think it was. So, yeah, a lot of you want to see the Live Aid thing. So, I'm going to give that to you right now.
The reason why Jimmy Page regrets Led Zeppelin's reunion with Phil Collins. Some things are perhaps best left in the past, such as Led Zeppelin's Live Aid reunion, an event that didn't turn out to be the nostalgia-soaked affair they all hoped for. In truth, the big comeback was nothing short of a disaster. The show didn't go to plan because of a lack of preparation on the band's behalf, but Jimmy Page has always harshly redirected blame at stand-in drummer Phil Collins. While Collins was part of the problem, it's incorrect to say he was wholly responsible for the nightmarish reunion in Philadelphia. At the time, Live Aid was such a gargantuan event that Zeppelin couldn't resist getting the band back together for one night only. It was their first show since the death of John Bonham, and the group decided they needed to recruit 2 drummers in a bid to adequately replace him. Chic's Tony Thompson was drafted in, yet that wasn't enough for the surviving members of Led Zeppelin, who also wanted an A-list name to join them too, and Collins was the chosen one. The Genesis member should have never agreed to the project as he was already occupied with the UK leg of the event. However, the organizers wanted him at both and arranged for a private plane to take him across the Atlantic. Collins agreed to join Led Zeppelin out of politeness even though he was wholly underprepared and knew the likely outcome. Furthermore, when he said yes to their invitation, he didn't even realize they would be performing as Led Zeppelin and assumed they would be billed as Page and Plant. For the show, the New Look band only performed Rock and Roll, Whole Lotta Love, and Stairway to Heaven, but it was riddled with difficulties. Immediately after they finished playing, Page vented his frustration to MTV and made a scapegoat out of Collins in front of the nation. He said, one drummer was halfway across the Atlantic and didn't know the stuff. In Collins's autobiography, he admitted, I got pissed off. Maybe I didn't know it as well as he'd like me to have done, but I became the flagship, and it looked like I was showing off. In an interview with the Sunday Times in 2021, Page looked back at the frightful night and expressed regret about the sorry episode. He referred to the reunion as a regret and said their decision to get the band back together was not very clever.
Yeah, so he was pretty much blaming Phil Collins for his, lack of rehearsal. Because I don't know if you know this, obviously Phil Collins played in the UK, his own set, and then flew on Concorde to go and do the set in, I think it was New York. But anyway, wherever it was Live Aid. But what a lot of people don't actually know is they never rehearsed. They didn't have a single rehearsal with Phil Collins. And so, yeah, you can imagine how bad that was. Oh, Jake, that is so kind. Bless you. Let me put that up. In place of the alcohol-free beers I forgot to take out of my car to give you the other day, thanks for such a great day. Brother, I had the best time on Friday, and it was awesome to see you, mate. Yeah, Philadelphia, of course it was. Thank you so much. I have to give you one of these, brother. Yeah, so there is a video coming up with Jake Leigh guitar and also an amazing guy called Andy. And he is an amazing player. And we go over 3 Gordon Smith guitars. So you've got that coming up, which will be a lot of fun. So thank you for that, Jake. And thank you, Lamb, for reminding me it was Philadelphia. I heard somewhere that Page also played with some young Rolling Stones in the early 1960s. Well, I've got a little story about him playing with the Beatles, but we'll get to that. Hey, dreamers, did someone say Page? Yeah, they did. Awesome. No, never even had a single rehearsal. As far as I'm aware, Phil Collins listened to the tracks on the way over on the plane. So, hey, Guitar Hack, brother, great to see you. Yeah, very, very kind, Jake. I really appreciate that, brother. Really, very, very kind of you. Always appreciated, but never courted, my friends. I had a great time on Friday. We had a great time this morning as well with Andy. And yeah, I've got so much really good content coming up for you. I'm not sure if John has released his video yet, but very, very kindly, John Robson has used one of my backing tracks, and I've said it's perfectly okay to make it available. He has tabbed out a whole solo, but you're going to see that video on my channel soon, along with Lamb playing a solo over one of my tracks as well. And Lammy, I have to say, the missus loves it. So, yeah, I know that's important to you. So, there we go. Jimmy played with my greatest 60s singer, Twinkle. Wow. Are you having trouble getting on, Guitar Hack? Sorry, Budget Guitar Show, I should say. Oh, awesome. I have to say, you will absolutely love the guitars we checked out. Yeah, I'm so glad you guys are looking forward to it. I'm so glad I made your day, or my missus did. Let me see. You're having trouble. Oh, I have sent you the right link, mate. Okay, I'm going to put it in the comment section. I know that is dangerous, but here it is. There you go. Try that link, Johnny, and you're welcome to join me. And I'm now concerned that everybody will see that link. Let me see. Okay, we have only got 7 minutes left. So I am going to give you Page's Theft of Songs first. Here we go.
The 2 Led Zeppelin songs Jimmy Page pinched from a Scottish folkie. The line between theft and flattery is incredibly thin. While some artists regard mimicry as a natural part of musical evolution, others aren't so philosophical. The question of inspiration also becomes much more complicated when the artist accused of thievery has a higher profile than the artist they've stolen from, something Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page knows all too well. Consider Ed Sheeran, for example. The singer recently won a court battle against two grime artists, Sami Chokri and Ross O'Donoghue, who alleged the pop star stole one of their tracks and turned it into his 2017 hit, Shape of You. The case is just the latest example of a musician having to fight for their intellectual property. George Harrison, Lana Del Rey, and Nirvana all found themselves in the courtroom for not adhering to a famously vague and subjective concept, originality. Led Zeppelin battled for the copyright of their classic track Stairway to Heaven 4 years, only winning an appeal in 2016 after they were accused of stealing Spirit's 1968 instrumental Taurus. While Zeppelin eventually won the case, they've been accused of thievery by other artists too, including the Scottish folk singer Bert Jansch. Page often mentioned Jansch as a major influence. But, according to Jansch's bandmate Jackie McShee, Page directly lifted elements from 2 tracks from the singer's album Jack Orion without crediting him. McShee later opened up about Page's theft. "Actually, I think it's a very rude thing to do," he began. "Pinch somebody else's thing and credit it to yourself. It annoys me. In all the English papers at home he's always talking about Bert. Says he's influenced. I mean, why say that and then put something on an LP and say Jimmy Page?" McShee said that Page may have pinched the 2 songs from Jansch are Bron Y or Stomp and Black Mountain Side. The former is a very obvious reimagining of Jansch's The Wagoners Lad, in which the folk musician plays the same riff using a banjo. Perhaps even more flagrant is Page's recycling of Jansch's guitar work on Black Waterside. Aside from the tubular pulses in the Led Zeppelin recording, the 2 songs are pretty much identical, which is hardly surprising considering Page barely changed the original title. However, it's worth remembering that folk music has always been an oral music tradition, with songs being passed down from player to player. When nothing is written down, the survival of a song depends on musicians reinterpreting it and passing it on. Indeed, Jansch's own version of Black Waterside is a rework of a traditional folk tune called Down by the Waterside. Arguably, the only reason we regard Page's version of the song as theft and Jansch's as a reimagining is that Page's use of the track was commercial rather than communal. Considering music is immortalized in the digital sphere as soon as its release, is it any wonder copyright infringement cases are at an all-time high?
Okay. I have got Johnny on, but before that, I want to say a big thank you to Blackjack Guitar for the tone jar, Mike. Cheers and all the best. Bless you, brother. Let me give you one of these. Was very, very, very kind. I really appreciate it. And John Robson has let me know that it goes out a week today, so I won't be releasing my video just yet. Okay, thanks, John. And here's Johnny.
Hello, mate. Hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. You know, I'm actually doing this via my mobile phone. So if things chop out a little bit, I have a friend who wants to say hello to you, Mike. Here.
Oh, is there?
Yes, here he is.
Oh, gorgeous. Hey, are you cute? How cute.
His name is BB. So he wanted to say hello. But yeah, I have a little story about Mr. Robert Plant.
I am really, really interested to hear it.
Okay, well, just to make sure that everybody can hear this going on. But yeah, going back to the late 90s now, around 98, 99, there's a band local to us called Fred Zeppelin. And they are a Led Zeppelin tribute band.
Of course.
They've been going for a great number of years. Now, I went to see them in a local pub called the Queen's Head. Now, in Redditch, where I come from, which is obviously John Bonham's birthplace, there is a guy who looks exactly like Robert Plant. And
Oh,
he just turns up in the pubs and you see him, you have a pint with him, everybody knows him, he's fine,
yeah.
great guy. So I've gone to see this band in my local pub, and I have stood with this guy who I believe is the bloke that looks like Robert Plant for 2 hours, 3 hours, and we're having a few pints, knocking them back. And all of a sudden, the band says, "Oh, we have a very special guest that we've asked to come here tonight. He knows us. Will you please welcome Mr. Robert Plant?" And this guy says, "Will you hold my pint for me?" And off he goes. He sings immigrant song. He sings rock and roll. He sings good times, bad times with them,
Oh, wow.
dazed and confused. And then he comes back to me. He jumps off the stage, comes back to me and says, "Let's carry on with our discussion." I had been slagging off Led Zeppelin and Robert Plant for 2 hours, saying that, look, I thought that after rock and roll and communication breakdown, they were a load of crap. And this guy had been going, yeah, I agree with you. They got a bit too long-winded, It was Robert
Oh,
Plant. And he
Johnny.
came down off the stage, grabbed his pint, looked at me and said, "Do you want another, mate?"
Oh, I have to say, that was a great story. I love it.
Well, what could I say? I'm a punk rocker, What could I say apart from, yeah, well, I didn't mean it. And he looked at me and he said, "You did mean it, mate. You did mean it." I said, "Okay, I did, but what you did up there was really good." He said,
Oh,
"Well,"
mate.
"you just had what nobody has seen me do since 1969, a cheap
Wow.
seat." So
Oh,
I said, "Fair enough." And we had one more drink and he left. And he was so gracious. He really was. And he was
wow.
happy that this guy had said something like that. And I've just seen a comment here. There's a reggae Led Zeppelin band called Dread Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen them a few times. They are fantastic.
Yeah,
It's a
that was
guy
my
who
mate Andy.
he dresses up as Elvis, the lead
Really?
singer, he's called oh God, I can't remember his name, but the band play Led Zeppelin songs as a reggae band,
Yeah.
and this guy's dressed as Elvis Presley in the old jumpsuit, and he
Oh,
sings.
Johnny, I love it. It's been so long since I've seen you. It's really good to
And
see
you
you.
too, mate.
And look, you're getting great stories to tell the grandkids.
Yep,
Fantastic, hilarious. Oh, it is amazing. Andy beat me to it with the Dread Zeppelin. I
yep.
have to say, mate, thanks so much for coming on and
Look,
telling us the story.
all I want to say is, listen, man, everybody who is not subscribed to this guy here, if you're watching live now and you're not subscribed to CGS's channel, do it now. Otherwise, I'm going to come round your house as a punk rocker and I'm going to play exploited songs down your ear holes until you bleed. Okay? Subscribe
Oh,
to this man, CGS, and God love you, mate. We're all here for you.
bless you,
You're the
brother.
man.
Thank you so much, Johnny. That is so kind. It's great to see you. I can't wait until you can come down again.
Oh, we will do it at some point, mate, and we'll make a
Awesome.
proper video.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You take good care, my friend.
And you, see you soon, mate.
See you later. Cheers,
See ya.
Johnny. Wow, what a great story from my buddy Johnny there. So funny. and hilarious. He thought it was the lookalike and not the real guy. Wow. Okay, I have one video left, and I know we've gone over the hour because everything's on red, but I don't care. I think you guys deserve the last story about Jimmy Page being involved in A Hard Day's Night.
One of the all-time most influential, important, and versatile guitarists and songwriters in rock history is Jimmy Page. Just about every rock guitarist from the late 60s, early 70s to the present day has been influenced by Page's work with Led Zeppelin. His monolithic riffs served as a blueprint for what would eventually become heavy metal, yet he refused to be pigeonholed to any single musical style, touching upon folk, country, funk, blues, and other genres. Page also lent a hand in writing, or co-writing Zeppelin's vast array of classic songs and produced all their albums. Born on January 9, 1944, in Heston, Middlesex, England, Page picked up the guitar at age 13 after being inspired by the Elvis Presley tune Baby Let's Play House, and while he took several lessons, was mostly self-taught. Instead of attending college right after high school, Page decided to join his first real rock band, Neil Christian and the Crusaders, whom he toured England with. But Page fell seriously ill, with glandular fever, and was forced to quit and recuperate. Dejected, Page pondered giving up music and focusing on another interest, painting, as he enrolled at an art college in Sutton, Surrey. With the emergence of such bands as the Rolling Stones in the early 60s and their gritty blues rock, Page's interest in music perked up once again, but instead of forming a band right away, he decided to hone his craft by becoming one of England's top session guitarists and producers. Although the exact specifics of which sessions he was involved with have become hazy over time, it's confirmed that he worked with many of the day's top acts, including The Who, Them, Donovan, The Kinks, and the Rolling Stones, among others. By 1966, Page was looking to put his session work on hold and join a full-time band. He accepted an offer to play with the Yardbirds, initially as a bassist, then shortly thereafter as a guitarist, as he was paired up with another one of rock's all-time guitar greats, Jeff Beck. Although the Yardbirds began as a straight-ahead blues rock band, with the inclusion of Page in the lineup, the group began experimenting with psychedelic and hard rock styles. Little Games. Despite it being obvious that the Yardbirds were on the downside of their career, Beck left shortly after Page came on board. Page appeared on the album Little Games and several tours before the band finally called it a day in 1968. With a string of tour dates still set up throughout Europe, Page decided to go through with the shows and put together a new band that was dubbed the New Yardbirds, including longtime session bassist John Paul Jones, plus newcomers Robert Plant on vocals and John Bonham on drums. After the completion of their initial tour, the band changed its name to Led Zeppelin and explored the still largely uncharted territory of hard rock or heavy metal. The band immediately became one of rock's most successful and enduring bands, issuing a string of classic albums from 1969 through 1975: Led Zeppelin I, Led Zeppelin II, Led Zeppelin III, Led Zeppelin IV, Houses of the Holy, and Physical Graffiti, which spawned such classic rock radio standards as Dazed and Confused, Whole Lotta Love, Immigrant Song, Black Dog, Stairway to Heaven, and Kashmir, as the band also became a must-see live act in the process. Page also found the time to work with folk artist Roy Harper, most notably his 1971 release, Stormcock, under the alias S. Flavius Mercurius. Zeppelin was arguably the biggest rock band in the world by the mid-70s, their influence on other rock bands following in their wake cannot be stressed enough as they launched their own record company, Swan Song, but it was around this time that Page began dabbling with heroin and other substances, eventually leading to him becoming a full-blown addict by the late 70s, early 80s. As a result, his playing began to suffer. Also, Page's interest in the occult became a concern to those around him. He went as far as purchasing a mansion on the Loch Ness in Scotland that was once owned by renowned Satanist Aleister Crowley. The song remains the same. Zeppelin continued issuing albums until the dawn of the 80s. 1976 concert movie soundtrack. The song remains the same.
I'm so sorry. That wasn't the real story. I realised halfway through that we were playing the biography again. So I do apologise that didn't work out. I will have to do that for you another time. Anyway, tonight has been an absolute joy and pleasure. Love you, brother. Andy, great to see you this morning, and thank you so much. Andy has not only contributed this beautiful steel guitar, but he has also contributed a set of studio monitors that are really great, and also an electronic drum kit. So I can't thank you enough for that, brother. We have gone 10 minutes over tonight. I'm so sorry that we didn't get the Beatles story. I will repeat that for you at some stage. But because I'm getting a little tired and my speech is going, I think I am going to say my usual, and that is, my friends, you take good care.